Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Draft FPL. Welcome back to a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Doing it live this week. I've been away for the past 4 or 5 days. So I went away on Sunday, completely missed the second half of the game week. But I'm pretty glad I did because it was a bit of a stinking Sunday. I did manage to watch the Monday Night Football in a bar in Portugal. But I've not really been switched on this week. Got back late last night. So today I just had a little bit of recovery, tried to figure out what's been going on in the draft world. So I figured I'll just do a live stream now. What is going to happen is the first half an hour or so, I'm going to do my waiver picks as usual, as I normally do. And then for the following bit of time after that, maybe half an hour or so, I will take some questions from the live chat about your problems, your waiver issues that you've got going on. I have had a warning from YouTube that my bitrate is lower than it should be. So we'll see how this goes. I may end up just recording it and then we'll have to re-upload it if there's something going on. But could someone in the chat, if you could be so kind, just let me know that everything seems to be okay. I mean, like I said, I've got a warning from YouTube, but it looks absolutely fine to me. So I think we'll just crack on, to be honest. But yes, we shall see. Remember to like the video, like the stream if you enjoy, and I believe the chat is on subscriber only mode. So if you haven't yet subscribed and you want to ask a question, you better do that now. Okay, well, I'm getting all good from the chat, so I'm just going to crack on then with the waiver picks. First up, we start with defenders as always, and if I can click the right button, we're going with Wan-Bissaka first of all. You might be thinking, United defence, that can't be right. Available in 65% of leagues, and that is powered by Draft FC. And as we're on Draft FC, I've just got a little thing to mention. I have now got a code for Draft FC. Use the code SNAKEDRAFT and you can get 1 month free trial when you sign up. So I talk about it, I've been talking about it for the last year and a half. It's a site that I use all the time. I use it to make the waiver picks and help me make my decisions. If you want to try it out with a month's free trial, as I said, code SNAKEDRAFT, link is in the description below. Make sure you use the code at checkout to get the free trial. And yeah, good idea. I'll go through that a little bit more when I'm answering the questions. We'll have a look through the site on stream and you can get a little bit more of an idea of what it's all about. But very, very, very good website for Draft FPL. As I said, Wan-Bissaka available in 65% of leagues. Luton at home this week, Everton away next week. United are an absolute shambles. There's no denying that. But those two fixtures, it is a very good set. It's a very good pair to look at. Luton at home, Everton away. And when we're looking at the defenders available for United, I think Wan-Bissaka is the best pick. He's not been in the team of late because of his injury problems, but he is back fit now, and I think he's almost guaranteed to start. Especially, I would say that I think Johnny Evans is actually a pretty good pick as well, but he's obviously now got that injury. At the time of recording, as far as I'm aware, we're not 100% sure if he's going to be fit or not. So that kind of puts all of them in doubt because I don't personally think that Maguire and Varane is a very good partnership. In fact, I think it stinks. I think both of them struggle when they're playing together and neither of them like to play on that left-hand side. So it's a bit of a lottery with the centre-backs in my opinion. Dalot is probably just as nailed as Wan-Bissaka at the moment. I think it's going to be him left back, Wan-Bissaka at right back. There's kind of no doubt about that, really. So, looking at clean sheet odds this week, it's hard to look past United. No matter how bad they've been, they are still a significantly better side than Luton. Playing at Old Trafford, you have to gamble that there's going to be a clean sheet there. So, I think he is a very, very good pick. Next up, staying with defenders, Tino Livramento, available in 99% of leagues. Someone I'm very excited about. Watched him play quite a lot at St Mary's in the season where he had a good run there a couple of years ago. Very good player. Available in 99% of leagues, as I said. With Dan Burns' injury, I think he's pretty much going to play consistently in the Premier League for the time being. It looks like Trippier's going to go to left back, Livramento at right back for the foreseeable. There's also a chance Livramento could play right wing as well. I think he started there against Dortmund in the week, but I do think Livramento is probably first choice. Lewis Hall's obviously an option as well, but for my money, I think Livramento, even if he doesn't start at right back, he's got a decent chance of starting at right wing as well. And for their defensive, numbers, to be able to pick up one of them off the free agent market is definitely a bit of a steal. The other option, of course, is Lascelles, but his ownership has been creeping over the last few weeks. It looks like, I think Botman's going to be out for a long time, to be honest. I really don't see him coming back probably before Christmas, and I also think he's probably a drop at this point as well if you do own him. The fixtures are kind of mixed for Newcastle at the moment, especially in terms of clean sheets. Bournemouth, the good fixtures are away from home and the harder fixtures are at home. That seems to be kind of how they've fallen at the moment, which is a bit tough for clean sheets, but Newcastle are a very good defence and they can keep a clean sheet against pretty much anyone. Chelsea at home, United at home in 13 and 14 look tough on paper, but realistically, Newcastle are a better side than both of those. Playing at St James's Park, they could definitely keep a clean sheet in either or both. And the away fixtures are really strong. Bournemouth away and Everton away in the next 4. So I do think if you can get on board, really, really good pick, in my opinion. Next up, we have Joel Veltman. Joel Veltman, this is kind of a placeholder because I haven't fully decided which Brighton defender I'm personally going to go for. The Europa League game, I think, has just finished, isn't it? So let me just double check as I'm talking who plays. So Veltman side at right back, played the full 90 minutes. I think Dunk got an injury, didn't he? I saw that. I think at half time he went off for Igor, and Van Heck started as well. I think Veltman and Van Heck are probably the two that I'd most likely go for. Estupinan was on the bench and then came off the bench, so I did think, okay, that could be perfect timing for him for this weekend, the Sheffield game. He then went off again about 15 minutes later. I haven't, I was kind of doing the prep for the stream and that, so I didn't keep a close eye on the Brighton game. I'm not exactly sure what's happened, but that doesn't sound ideal. As I said, Dunk's gone off as well. So there is an argument to say that Brighton's defence is poor and a lot of their key men are out, so you should just avoid this fixture anyway, and I do kind of understand that, but it is a really, really good fixture. I think Veltman is the most likely to start, midweek and weekend, so he's the one I'd probably go for. Van Heck is also a decent option, especially if Dunk is injured, then they're really short on centre-back, so it wouldn't really surprise me to see Van Heck start again, so he could also be a shout. To be honest, if Dunk's injured, then Igor may well be the pick as well because they don't really have many other options. But for these next few fixtures, a Brighton defender does look good, again, despite the fact they've not kept a clean sheet yet this season. After that, the fixtures do get a little bit tougher. So they've had 2 of their 4 good fixtures. These final 2 kind of are the last hurrah for a few game weeks after that. Next up, Joel Ward. I cannot look at a good fixture for Palace without putting him in the video. Available in 67% of leagues. He would be my 4th, choice Palace. He would actually be my 5th choice Palace defensive asset behind the keeper, Anderson, Gahey and Mitchell. But it seems like that's the case for pretty much everyone because he's always available. 67% of leagues. Everton at home, Luton away, Bournemouth away. 3 of the next 4 is looking pretty good. The one thing I don't like is after this Everton game, they do have 3 away fixtures on the spin. Is that right? Have I done that right? I'm just going to double check that because that's pretty unusual to see 3 away games on the spin. I may have made a mistake then. Yes, the Bournemouth game's at home. I was thinking that doesn't make sense. Yes, it's Everton at home and Bournemouth at home in 12 and 15. And then, so 2 really strong home fixtures with 2 decent away fixtures in the middle as well, to be honest. Luton away, West Ham away. We know that Palace are probably the most reliable team in the league at keeping clean sheets against non-Big Six sides. So they're always someone I look to target whenever the fixture's half decent. you don't always get the clean sheet, but quite often you have a good chance of getting one. So, I always go for a Palace defender when the fixtures are good, which they are this week. On to midfielders, not a defender. You can tell I was tired when I made these slides, right? Kudus, obviously, midfielder. Available in 53% of draft leagues. Forest at home, Burnley away, Palace at home, the next 3 fixtures. I mean, that is unbelievable fixtures for West Ham. I think, I made a couple of videos about Kudus in sort of a month ago, and my kind of general advice was if you have faith that he's a good player, he will eventually get into the team and you should probably hold him. If you're not that convinced, then maybe let go. Well, I think it's safe to say he's kind of proven himself as a very good player, and he is now in the team. I think it's a no-brainer at the moment to get him, especially for these 3 fixtures. What can you say, really? Unbelievable talent. Definitely someone to keep an eye on. It's one of those at the moment where after watching him play for a few weeks, and now he is definitely, he's not nailed, but he's getting the majority of the starts. Any league I'm in that he's free, I'm certain in a 10-man league I'd have a midfielder that I would waiver out for him, because I do think he is a really strong pick at this point. Next up, we have Joe Willock. Available in 95% of leagues, back from injury, played something like 80 minutes in the Champions League midweek. He's done absolute damage in FPL in the past, just hasn't had the fitness over the last 6 months or so, but he's back and he looks fit. He played okay. I mean, Newcastle were a bit disappointing against Dortmund, I thought, but Willock did play all right. And I do think, with the struggles they've got in central midfield at the moment, obviously Tonali no longer available for selection, I think Willock has a very good chance of getting a run in the side, and he's someone I'm really, really looking at. Bournemouth away and Everton away, 2 of the next 4. Newcastle are the second best attack in the league season long, and I think they're top in the last 6. They are a really, really good attacking side, as we know. And if you can get an attacking midfielder off the waivers, it's an absolute bargain, in my opinion. Just for the chat who are watching, Kudus obviously not a defender, just an error on my part. He is, of course, a midfielder. So Joe Willock, I think he's a brilliant pick. Even if he doesn't quite have the fitness to start 2 games in a week at the moment, then I'm more than happy to hold him for this Bournemouth game and keep him for the next run coming up, because I do think he is a really good talent, someone I'd love to have in my roster. Next up, Jordan Ayew, available in 61% of leagues. Palace have been horrendous in terms of an attacking point of view for the past month or so. I would put that mainly down to a lack of Eze and Elise. Both are by far and away the most creative players at Palace. Eze has come back now. I think he got about 30 minutes against Burnley, and you could see the difference as soon as he was on the pitch compared to how they've been playing over the past 6 weeks or so. He absolutely makes a team tick. And Jordan Ayew is I think he's kind of underrated. He's really annoying when your team are playing against him, because he wins loads of fouls. He's a very, very underrated presser, good tackler, scrappy player, but he does actually, do a decent job for Palace. And when the fixtures are good, he's normally playing on the right, and he actually gets quite a lot of chances. So 3 of these 4 fixtures look absolutely brilliant. Everton at home, Luton away, and Bournemouth at home in game week 15 are really, really strong fixtures. West Ham away is not bad either, really. I mean, West Ham's defence has been pretty terrible so far. So for someone that you can almost, is very widely available, 61%, I think he's actually a pretty good pick, especially for this run of good fixtures that Palace have got. Eze back, Elise should be back soon as well. I think he's like a kind of underrated good pick. Next up, Adingra. I know I've mentioned him a couple of weeks. Was it 2 weeks in a row or just last week? Definitely. Probably, I think 2 weeks in a row now. But as I said, I just think he's nailed on this right-hand side, and the fixtures are still good. I know he's blank so far, and the data in the Premier League has been pretty poor. The data in Europe, however, has been really good. So is it just a case that they play a lot better when Fati and Pedro are on the pitch? I think that probably is the case. De Zerbi, I mean, he's been doing my head in basically ever since he started at Brighton, to be honest. But I do think that Adingra is still a very good pick. Once the team settled down a little bit, they've had so many injuries lately. It's really hard for them to get into any kind of rhythm, especially with how much De Zerbi rotates. They're just, there seems to be no flow recently. But I do think that's going to improve as the weeks go on. As I said, Sheffield United at home, Forest away in the next two. Just fantastic fixtures. I think there's no way you can, overlook him for this little period. Next up, only forward this week is Archer. Available in 40% of leagues. And Sheffield United have got their first win of the season against Wolves last week. And I think, that kind of result can really turn a corner for a team like Sheffield United. And the next three fixtures, they'll probably be looking at thinking we can do something here because, okay, Brighton away is tough on paper, very tough. Brighton are a good side. But they're playing away in Europe on the Thursday. They're going to have to rotate. They've got loads of injuries. It's probably, they're a terrible defence anyway. It's probably actually a really, really good time to play them for Sheffield United. And I fancy Archer to do something in this fixture. He is a very good finisher. It all depends on how many chances they can get him. And I think against the way that Brighton play leads them to be exploited. And I think Sheffield United could potentially throw an upset on the cards here. So that's this week. Then it's Bournemouth at home, Burnley away in the next two. Massive, massive games for Sheffield United. They need probably 4 points from these next three if they've got any hope of getting out of the bottom three this side of Christmas. They need 4 points from this minimum. So I think it's a good time to. I'll probably be starting Archer this week. I own him in a couple of leagues as sort of just a third forward that I normally just leave first on the bench just in case. But I think I'm going to start him this week. I'm not sure how that's going to play out and who I'm going to have to bench, but I do think it's a good week for him, especially he's coming off a bit of confidence after a goal last week. So I do think it is definitely someone to look at. And I believe that wraps up my picks for game week 12. So normally I'd be saying if you enjoy the video, hit the like button, but I'm not going to do that now. What I'm going to do now is take some questions from the chat. We're going to have maybe a little look at Draft FC or Hub or anything like that and answer some questions. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes. And then I will take some questions. So I will be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. Right, let's get the chat open and let's see what we have got. Hope your trip was great. It was great. Tiring, lots of golf, lots of beers, not a lot of sleep. So, can you rate my team? Just had some trades. 10-man league. Leno, Flecken, Cash, Udogi, Stones, Van der Ven, Dawson, Bruno, Diaz, Odegaard, Soboslai, Kure, Haaland, João Pedro, Kalasic. I like it a lot. I mean, you need some. There's some work to be done on the defence. Udogi banned, Van der Ven injured, Dawson with a bad fixture. So you're looking at least 2 defensive waivers there probably. Van der Ven, I think, is a drop. I know there were some rumours going around today that his injury might not be as bad as it first looks, but there's, hamstring injuries is always a month at least. The defence isn't that good, and I just think there's just no point keeping him, to be honest. No point. If it was maybe a more of attacking, if he had a more upside, I'd go for it. But he's not attacking at all. He's not that good on bonus. Get rid. Brennan Johnson or Adingra this week. If you're going to pick one up, I'd pick up Brennan Johnson for sure, because I think long term he's just a significantly better pick. If you're going to start one, I think I'd probably have to start Adingra. Let me just get the fixtures up, because off the top of my head, Tottenham away to Wolves, and I think there will be goals in that game, but I'll probably start Brennan. I think I'd start Brennan. Would you take Kudus in by transferring one of Brennan Johnson or Adingra? Yeah, I'd take Kudus over Adingra. I would take. I like Adingra. I think he's a good pick, but I think Kudus is ahead. I do think Kudus is ahead. Should I drop Gakpo for Nkunku? Gakpo for Nkunku is tough. I don't love dropping Gakpo, really. If you've got 3 great forwards, and he's your worst one, I think Nkunku's probably the better pick. I'm not a big fan of dropping good picks for injured players, even when they're soon to return, because when a player's got an injury, it's so common that they get a setback, or they come back and get another injury, or they come back and just don't have any form or any confidence, that if it's a good pick, I only really like picking them up when I've got like a dud, to be honest. It's not a tactic I normally go for. Do you reckon sitting on either Jacob Ramsey or Elise to come back from injury is a smart idea? I think sitting on Elise is not a bad idea. I probably wouldn't sit on Jacob Ramsey, just because I don't think his upside's quite as high even when he's back, and because he's just done exactly what I've just talked about in terms of came back from injury and then got injured again. We just don't really have that much information on him. Gahey or Livramento? Gahey for me. Would you hold Stones given Pep's latest injury comments? I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know what his latest injury comments are, which is, not, where's my injury table? Not the most helpful answer. So what was said? John Stones, thigh injury. Unfortunately, John, he felt again. I feel so sorry for him. It's a big loss. I think he'll be out for... Oh, get rid. I'm getting rid. That's... to be honest, that's actually kind of good news, because I'm sick of holding John Stones. So I will certainly be dropping. I think the upside's great. Love John Stones. Fantastic defence, attacking player, but nah, I'm dropping. A recurrence of injury like that, I think he'll be out for a while. Do you think Kudus is better than Morgan Gibbs-White or Ward-Prowse? Ooh, I think he's better than Ward-Prowse. I think he's a better pick than Ward-Prowse. Yeah. Morgan Gibbs-White I think is pretty close. But when you're picking two, when it's like Kudus and Ward-Prowse, they're playing for the same team, they've got the same fixtures, and Kudus is just more attacking. Gun to the head, Eze or Kudus or Willock or Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't think I need a gun to the head. But if there is one, Eze, I think Eze is a fantastic pick. And I know he struggled at the start of the season a little bit, but he's a proper fantasy option. Hopefully he's back fit and firing. Drop Fatty for Johnson, even if I have Maddison already. Richarlison's had surgery, hasn't he? Where did that come from? That kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Richarlison. The last few months haven't been easy for me. I've also been suffering. I've spoken to the doctors and I'll soon have surgery on my groin. He's going to be out for... Yeah, I think Brennan Johnson's probably the one. So I probably would drop Fatty. I know you're going to have double Spurs mids, but it's no big deal to have two mids from one of the best attacking teams in the league, really, is it? I like Fatty. I think he's a really good pick, by the way. But the lack of minutes just pushes me towards Johnson. I've got Son, Gordon, Ward-Prowse, Neto, McGinn. Would you bring in Brennan or Kudus for any of them? I'd bring in both Brennan and Kudus, I think, for Ward-Prowse and McGinn, personally. I know McGinn's fixtures for the next two, are still really good, but I think long-term you're going to want them. Should I drop Botman for McNeil? Yes. Mitchell. Sorry, not. Yeah, I would drop Botman for Mitchell. I think Botman's out long-term. As soon as you hear knee injury, you don't really get, it's quite rare to get minor knee injuries. Like minor, especially for, Botman's a unit. He's not exactly like a nimble, little whippet. I feel like Botman's not going to see the rest of this calendar year. Want to pick up Kudus, drop JWP, or MGW, JWP for me. Morgan Gibbs-White hasn't done squat this season, dropped him off 10 minutes. Yeah, listen, Morgan Gibbs-White's been very frustrating. I can absolutely understand why people want to get rid. I own him in 2 leagues and he's done my head in all season. But prior, what is it? I had a little phrase I always used to say and I can't even remember it now. Previous points are not a good prediction of points to come. That doesn't make sense. Past points are not a good predictor of future points. I think that's it. And what is a good predictor is touches in the box, shots in the box, chances created. And Morgan Gibbs-White's are fantastic across the board. Fixtures are good. I think he's just been really, really unlucky so far, which is not really like much use to anyone, but I do believe that. One second. What else we got? I have Ferguson and João Pedro. Should I get rid of one of them? I don't know how active your league is in terms of trades, but I would probably try and trade one of them. I would probably try and trade Ferguson. I think maybe I'm an idiot, and that is very, very likely. But I really do think that João Pedro is gonna do well. I still believe that he's gonna do well this season. The data's there. He's clearly so much better than the other options, I think. Brighton look like a way better team when he's playing. And that's why he always gets picked in the big European games. So you've got to think that surely the Premier League minutes are going to come. And if they do, he'll do well. I'm certain of that. Cole Palmer or Hwang? I think Cole Palmer. I like Hwang. But with Neto out, it's just they're not the same team without their best player. And Hwang is a bit of a tapping merchant, which is a great thing, by the way, but it means he needs a lot of service. Morgan Gibbs-White for home fixtures in JDP otherwise. Yeah, I mean, if no one's going to touch them, then rotate all day long. Yeah, definitely. Great It's a great tactic. Lascelles, Livramento or Hall. I think Lascelles is the best one because he's definitely going to play. There's like no danger he doesn't play in the Premier League. I think Livramento is more likely to play more minutes than Hall. I could be wrong, and I'm willing to hold my hands up if I'm wrong, but that's kind of my take on it, personally. 70 viewers at the moment. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here. Make sure you hit that like button. Only 18 likes. There's 50-something of you that have not yet hit the button. I would very much appreciate it if you did. Next question. Can you rank these three? Doucouré, Morgan Gibbs-White, Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai is the best. I think if the fixtures are neutral, I think I'd probably say Doucouré and then Morgan Gibbs-White. I think. It's pretty close. That's pretty close. But that's, I believe, what I would go for. That is, I believe, what I would go for. Would you take Kudus over Palmer? Also, Archer over Pedro or Cunha? I think I would strongly consider taking Archer over Cunha, not Pedro. Kudus versus Palmer is really close. I think Kudus has the fixtures. That's the way I lean, but I wouldn't want to drop Cole Palmer, really, because I think he could actually be Chelsea's best player, which is not really someone you want to drop. And that seems like a decision you could live to regret. And he's got pens, so I think I'd take Palmer. Would you pick up Nkunku for Højlund, Jesus or Gakpo? No. I mean, I know Gakpo, I kind of mentioned him earlier, and it is close. I think I'd just wait, to be honest. Is Foster a hold as a third forward? Yeah, I don't really know. You know, obviously, I'm not going to get into the whole, situation from a non-fantasy perspective. Obviously, I hope he turns a corner soon. It's unusual to see a footballer be kind of open about mental health problems and step away from the team under that kind of situation. And I hope he gets better, as soon as possible. From a fantasy, that's why we're here, right? A draft fantasy perspective. I think he's a drop, unfortunately. We just have no idea when he's gonna come back. There's not really any kind of way you can try and figure out when he'll be back, right? You just have to. I think he's just a drop, to be honest. And he wasn't an amazing pick anyways. If it was Haaland, right, you'd keep him. But he's not. He's not Haaland, really, is he? So I would, should I drop Foster for Archer? I probably would. I hope he comes back quickly. He's a fun player to watch in the Premier League. And he's a good option as well for the draft manager. But I would drop, I think, yeah. What do you think of Grealish? Is he a hold or should I try and move him on? Grealish is a pain in the backside. But I think he probably starts all of the next 4. I think. Let me go over to. Let me click on this. So City's fixtures coming up? So Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, the next 3. I think there's a pretty good argument to say that Grealish will start ahead of Doku in all 3 of those fixtures. Which, if you are a Doku owner and just got an absolute haul, is like the last thing you want to hear. But from a Grealish point of view, I mean, Grealish has never been a prolific fantasy asset since he's been at City, really, has he? Realistically, he's been a good player, but never lit the world on fire. So it's a tough thing to get rid of him. But I do think he'll start the next 3 because Pep loves having Grealish on the left so that he can control games better. So I do think he's, a good pick. Would you pick up Doku for Diaz or Neto? Yeah, I would pick up Doku for Neto. I'm assuming it's probably a slightly smaller league, if that is the kind of choice you're looking at. But yeah, I would. How bad was Van de Ven's injury? Get rid. Yeah, I think we don't know for sure, but I'm getting rid 100%. I might get rid of Romero as well, and he's only out for 3 games. But I may well get rid of Romero as well, just because I think that the fixtures aren't that good. What are the fixtures? Let me get them up. The fixtures coming up for Spurs. So, like Romero, for instance, he's going to miss Wolves, Villa and City. Then they walk into West Ham, Newcastle, Forest, Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth. So fixtures aren't horrendous when Romero comes back, but how many clean sheets are they going to keep in these? West Ham and Newcastle are not terrible, but they're not easy. Forest away, they'll probably concede. Everton's attack is actually pretty good. Brighton away, you can't see a clean sheet there. And by the time we're at game week 20, I'm going to drop... I might drop all of them. I might drop Udogie, Romero and Van de Ven across different leagues. Did Estepinian start today? Did I get that wrong? I'm sure according to live score, he didn't start. He came on the 65th minute and went off on the 77th minute. Yeah, I thought so. So I have to wait on news on him, but I don't think he's going to be playing if he only managed 12 minutes in the midweek. You think Emerson Royale is a decent option? Maybe. I mean, he's probably going to start, isn't he, with the doggy out? Wolves away, Villa at home, the next 2. I just don't think they're going to keep any clean sheets. And I am biased. I am an Arsenal fan, and I always probably think worse of Spurs than I should. It's very difficult to be, unbiased. But, yeah, not sure. Not sure about that, to be honest. I'm not convinced. So, just quickly, I did say earlier that I would mention it again, and I will do so now. So, as I said, I do have now a code for draftfc.co.uk. If you want to try it out, it's a month's free trial. So there's absolutely no commitment. My favourite feature is the predicted lineups, and I know that sounds stupid because you can get predicted lineups anywhere, but this is, hang on, let me get it up right. So this is probably the most useful thing ever. So you can do this thing where you add your leagues to your account. So I have this is the pyramid league that I'm in. So I've got all 5 leagues on here, as you can see here. So I can go on the pyramid league, and what they've done is they have a predicted lineup for each team with like the fixture. So for the Arsenal, it's like Burnley at home, and it is only a prediction, and all predicted lineups are never perfect, and Draft FC do a pretty good job. Sometimes I disagree a little bit, but that's totally normal. I don't think anyone really fully always agrees on predicted lineups, but that's not the predicted lineups is only part of it. The main thing I like is that it shows you who is available in your league in the predicted lineup. So for instance, if let's just say Brentford have a good fixture this week, I can instantly go on the predicted lineup and see. So Ayew, for instance, is available in this league. Janelt is available, and it makes picking your waivers so much easier to be able to just think Brighton, Adingra available. Okay, I'll make a waiver for him. You know, it makes planning your waivers so much easier, especially like when you're thinking about like defenses and who you're going to go for. This feature is it's just a massive time saver, to be honest. Something I really, really like. So as I said, if you want to get involved, there is draftfc.co.uk. use the code SNAKEDRAFT to get a free month. And if you don't use it, then don't bother. Right? If you try it and you don't use it, then that's fine. But I would give it a go because this is a massive, massive time saver, in my opinion. Are you hopeful of a title push for Arsenal this season? Yes, I'm hopeful. I'm not confident. I think the defence is good, but we've not had fluid attacking output yet. Then again, we've had a lot of injuries in the attacking part of the team. So how much can you really judge it? We haven't had a set lineup for ages. So hopefully once everyone's fit, we'll do a bit better. But I mean, the points have still been flowing without a strong attack. So hopefully it'll be all right. Will you be willing to review a team or two of your own? Waiver plans and all. Ooh, I don't like doing it because people are going to nick my waivers. But yeah, go on then. Why not? I'll do it in a minute. Johnson over Grealish or Palmer? I already have Maddison. Yeah, Johnson over... I think Johnson over Grealish. I mean, I could live to regret this, but I really just don't see big returns for Grealish. It just never really happens. So I've got a weird one. I've got Pedro Neto and Gabriel Jesus. Who should I look to swap them out for potentially trade? Do you know, I think get Jesus, if you can get someone like Watkins or Darwin, I think I would do it with Jesus just because the injuries are always in the back of the mind with Jesus. And I reckon you could probably persuade people with Darwin quite easily to trade him for Jesus. And I think I'd do that. I know the minutes aren't locked in for Darwin, but I really do think that they're a much better side with him in the team. So, would you trade Matoma or Diaz for Martinelli? I would trade Matoma for Martinelli, yes. I'd take Martinelli. Is Neto a hold? When do you think he'll be back? Have we had an update on Neto? Because, you know, he said he'd only be a couple of weeks, but I never really believe that. So on the 3rd of November, he won't be available this weekend or next weekend, and then we'll go into the international break. So, yeah, probably game week 13 at the earliest. I suspect it's normally a week longer than they think, so I'd probably say game week 14. If you can hold him, I would. If you can find good fixtures, then great. If you're compromising your first 11, then it's probably not worth it. But I would hold him if I could. I dropped Jackson for Nkunku last week and regret it, obviously. Fair. Should I try to get him back for João Pedro or prioritise Johnson in for Adingra Almiron? Firstly, you're massively unlucky because I don't think there's many people that would have predicted Jackson to do what he did against Spurs. So it's unlucky. Going forward, though, how good of a pick actually is he? There's not going to be many weeks where the other team gets 2 red cards, and I'm not sold on him, really. And I do think when Nkunku comes back, he's probably the most likely to lose the most minutes because Cole Palmer's been fantastic. It's hard to drop Sterling. So then you've got like Nkunku, Sterling, Cole Palmer, and one other spot. Is that going to be Jackson? Is it going to be Mudryk? Is it going to be, you know, plenty of options, aren't there? So, when is best to pick up Shaw or Robertson? Not yet. I don't think Shaw specifically, I probably won't bother because I think people will prioritise him, and I'm not excited enough by the United defence that I think he's worth like a top waiver spot, and I don't want to hold him when he's injured because I don't think the upside's that good anyway. Robertson, I'd probably wait a few more weeks at least. Again, Liverpool defence not that good. He's not been that attacking for a couple of years now. So, would you drop Gross for McGinn or Luis Diaz? I would drop Gross for Luis Diaz in a heartbeat. What to do with Jesus and Gakpo? Trades to target. Yeah, as I said, Jesus, I think if you can get a top striker, great. Gakpo, I think if you can get even a mediocre striker, it's worth doing. Solanke would be like a prime target for me. Someone that's nailed on, good finisher. Archer or Jackson for Foster, already stashing Nkunku. Yeah, if you're already holding Nkunku, then you've got to take Jackson, probably. I'm a Norwich fan. We just appointed Ben Napper from Arsenal as a new sporting director. Do you know anything about him? I don't know loads about him. I know that he was reasonably well thought of. But yeah, no, I don't know loads about him. Use your code. You are very welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Like I said, I do think I try. I've got a code for Draft FC and the affiliate link for Fantasy Football Hub in the descriptions, and they are genuinely websites I use every day. So I try and it's not like I'm getting offers left, right, and centre for stuff to endorse. It's not like I'm big time, but I do think stuff I use every single day, it just makes sense to kind of share that information out there. The Draft FC one, it literally went live today, and I think this is their first attempt at doing a kind of coupon code. So if there are any issues, Taz at Draft FC said to just try again tomorrow. Basically, he's out this evening, so he's not available for comment. But if you do have any problems with it, just DM Draft FC on Twitter, and they'll figure it out for you tomorrow. Jesus for Darwin. Yeah, I think I'd go for Darwin. I do honestly think that he's going to get enough minutes to. I think he's going to get enough minutes to be worth your while. Jesus is just a pain. Sorry, I did mean Archer. Yeah, if you're stashing Nkunku, no, I'd go for Jackson. I think. Was it Jackson or hang on? Let me scroll up. I've lost the comment now. Archer or Jackson for Foster? Yeah, I'd go for Jackson for the time being, and then if Jackson loses his place, you can always switch to Archer later. But I think if they're both starting, Jackson's probably the better pick. Brennan Johnson or Kudus? Brennan for me. The more I think about it. Is Eze a pickup yet? Definitely, yeah. Eze is a pickup. I actually was going to put him in the waiver picks this week, but he was only available in quite a small amount of leagues, I think. So I didn't bother in the end. But yeah, Eze, if he is available, I mean, I can see what is he. So I can look on. If I look on Draft FC here, we can see Eze rostered in 82% of leagues. So yeah, not particularly available. Ward-Prowse or McGinn? I would go for James Ward-Prowse, I think. And yes, pick up Gabriel. Whoever. I've just spotted that. Oh, the codes work now. Brilliant. Højlund or Calvert-Lewin? It sounds ridiculous, but I think maybe Calvert-Lewin. Nah, Højlund. I got stick on my from some of the Patreons when I did the rankings. I had Højlund at like 25 or something, and I got stick for having him that low. And people were saying if you were drafted now, you'd take him earlier than that. I honestly don't think I would, but I think I'd still probably take him over Calvert-Lewin just because the upside is definitely there. Yeah, when is Brozier back? Actually, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about Brozier. In fact, I'd basically forgotten he existed. Brozier. So on the 3rd was the last update, so 6 days ago. He might be available on the bench for Monday. He's trained the last few days. Oh, okay, so he should be back this week. Brozier, that is. That's interesting. Estupinan, Gabriel, Mitchell. You need to pick 2. Gabriel and Estupiñán, I think. Yeah. I mean, the Palace defence is great, but the other two. Dunk over the defender pickups you suggested earlier. Yes, unless he's injured, because he did come off. He did come off in the Ajax game this evening, and he doesn't come off over nothing. Let me see if there's anything on Twitter. A good night for the Seagulls, marred by the loss of James Milner and Lewis Dunk to first half injuries, while Purvis Estupiñán suffered a setback just minutes after being introduced. So that is not looking good, is it? Is there any more information? Injury blow. Looks like a groin injury. Muscle injury. Yeah, that doesn't look good, does it? I think Dunk is an avoid for the time being. Then Højlund or Darwin? Darwin. It's got to be Darwin for me. Højlund has 0 goals or assists in the Premier League. 0. And Darwin has quite a lot. And I know there's more to it than that. There, yeah, as I said earlier, past points and blah blah blah. But the data's not good for him really either. And the team are terrible. And I know he's got a couple of goals in the Champions League. A few, actually. 5, maybe. So he's definitely got potential. But Darwin's data is off the charts. And I know he's very frustrating to him because he misses some truly ridiculous chances. But he gets chances at a rate like only him and Haaland get chances with the same kind of level of regularity. McGinn or Douglas Luiz? I think you probably got to go McGinn, but it's pretty close because McGinn... you've probably got to go with Douglas Luiz. I think Douglas Luiz is the pick, but it is pretty close because McGinn has a little bit more open play threat. But Douglas Luiz just has so much from set pieces and pens that... Picking up Elise for one of them, I probably would actually. I don't think you really need the double up. I mean, if you can wait until after this game week, when they have a slightly harder fixture, then I think it's even better. But if he's going to get stolen after this week, then I'd do it. Should I start Luis Diaz or Maddison this week? Oh my God, how good could your team possibly be that you're trying to decide between Luis Diaz or Maddison to start? You have to. You got. That's like, I have no idea. I think I'd start Luis Diaz just because he's at home. Although Maddison's date is actually better away from home than it is at White Hart Lane, so you must have a worse option. That's all I can say. Not sure if you answered this, but is Tsimikas a hold still? Yeah, I think so. I know he didn't play last week, but I suspect that's because they wanted the height of Gomez against such a physical team in Luton. I think he'll start. I know that he started in the Europa League tonight, but so did Gomez, so that just doesn't really tell us anything. I'm going to start him again next week, Tsimikas. What's the rest of Trent's season look like to you? Good question. Trent, let's get him up on Fantasy Football Hub and have a look. I haven't dug into Trent's no player comparisons. Let's have a look at Trent versus Trippier, right? Because they're probably 1-2 in terms of attacking defenders. Trippier's delivered and Trent hasn't. Is that just luck? Is it just variance? Is it just finishing? Or is it something more? So, this is wild. Heat maps, not an issue for Trent. XG, Trent's got him beat, but he's got fuck all. He's got barely any. 0.5 total XG for the season, 0.06 per game. That's poor. That's really poor. He's only had 2 shots in the box. I know he doesn't have loads of shots in the box, but only 2 shots on target this season. Wow. 14 shots total, 2 on target. That's poor. We normally see a lot better from him than that. Touches in the box, lower. Final third pass is lower. 9 through balls, which is pretty high, but only 38 crosses compared to 80 from Trippier. 16 chances created, 3 big chances. The data for Trent is poor. For Trent, it's not bad for like a normal defender. Where does he rank in terms of defenders? What am I doing? Defenders total expected goal involvement. He is, oh wow, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 9th. 9th for the season. That is not ideal. What is it in like the last 6? Oh, wrong way. So in the last 6, he's what? 7th? It's not where you want to see him, is it? The data is not good. I wonder why that is. I suspect it's because of Darwin, actually. Both of those Trent shots on target were in the same match against Bournemouth in August. Wow. Yeah, you're right. In the last 6, he's got 0 shots on target. 9 shots total. 2 big chances created. I don't own Trent in any leagues this season. Out of 6 leagues, I don't own him in any of them. And I'm pretty glad looking at this, I must admit. And that's not because I didn't want him at the start. I certainly did. It's just through pure chance that I didn't get a draft position that made me get him. Surely there's no way he continues at this pace. There has to be a shift in the way Klopp's deploying him. I think what's happened, I'd need to watch the game a bit more closely to double check. But so Trent's biggest earner in terms of points were crosses to the back post. So what would happen is, for me, when he was in his pomp, like his best season, Firmino would drop into the false 10, Salah would play really narrow and high, Trent would have loads of space on the right-hand side and could put in long crosses to the back post. Mane was amazing in the air. Then even after he went, Jota would often deploy that space at the back post, and he's also really good in the air, very underrated in the air. Trent would get a lot of assists like that. The problem is, now that they're often playing Darwin or even Jota instead of Firmino, Darwin plays through the middle as a spearhead, as a target man and on the last shoulder, which means Salah stays wider. Now Salah's getting away with it in terms of points because he can create. He's creating more chances and taking less shots than he was before, but it doesn't matter too much because he's one, fantastic on bonus, has pens, and is an excellent finisher. So his points are kind of skewed in a different direction, but they're not necessarily worse. But what that means is Trent's tucking inside instead of going wide and putting those amazing crosses in, because he's probably the best crosser in the world, I would say, Trent. So what happens is he's coming inside and playing these through balls, as we saw on that previous screen. He had like 10 times more through balls than Kieran Trippier, for instance. The problem is, those through balls are quite often to either Salah, who's in a wide position and then cutting back, or it's to one of the midfielders running through. And when that happens, that midfielder's not then shooting, they're cutting back. So Trent's like doing well for Liverpool from a football perspective. He's progressing the game with like good passes. But from an attacking point of view, Szoboszlai is, yeah, exactly. The points that he would have got are now going to Salah or Szoboszlai in terms of assists. and shots. And teams only get a certain number of shots, like spread amongst the teams. If you think that most teams don't get more than a certain number of shots per game, let's say 15, when the personnel changes, unless the team gets massively better, those shot numbers don't change that much, which means if you take out a Firmino and put in a Darwin is going to take so many more shots than Firmino, that those shots have to come from somewhere, so they're taken off other players. So when you get a shot monster like Darwin come in, everyone else's shots go down, especially someone like Trent, who now has someone else to hit with a pass instead of taking on shots. So that's kind of my opinion on Trent. I think if you can bundle him with a midfielder for an upgraded midfielder, I'd probably look at doing it. I don't think if I was drafting now, I'd have Trippier over Trent in my rankings at the moment, which is unusual because Trent's been the highest defender in my rankings for basically ever since he started, regularly for Liverpool. That's kind of my. I don't even know if there was a question there, but what are your thoughts on Rico Lewis? I feel like he'd be a good value defender who plays CM often. Good attacking threat. Sadly, he gets very few minutes under Pep. Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, we've seen some fantastic performances from Rico Lewis, but I just don't think he gets the minutes. If ever City are playing in the early game, or even quite often we get the City lineup because there's a very reliable chap on Twitter. I think it's, let me just check before I give out the wrong at. Main Road, is it? Yeah, at FPL Main Road. He is very, very good for City lineups. Quite often, like a day or two before. And I don't know if it's him or someone he knows, but the way he gets the lineup is Pep always does a shape session the day before the game. So what they do is whatever the lineup's going to be, they lay out that lineup in training and all get in their positions. And Pep goes through like who's going to press who and where they're all going to shift to and how the rotations are going to work. And what this guy or someone he knows, some like in the know person that he knows does, is just look at who's in that shape session, and that's the starting 11 for the following day. And it's like it's dot on. I mean, his record is unbelievable at getting the lineups. So. Yeah, someone to keep an eye on, because you can quite often get the C-line quite a long way ahead. And if Rico Lewis is in it, then he's a great pick. But definitely someone I'd pick up and drop, depending on whether we think he's going to play or not. Would you have Zaniolo ahead of the Miz, you said today? He's got rest of ability today. I actually almost put him in the video. Very, very nearly put him in. And to be honest, I probably should have put him in the video. The only reason I didn't is because every time I've picked him, he's done nothing, and that is like a terrible. I don't even like the fact that I just said that out loud, because that's shocking. But it's quite hard to keep picking players that keep letting you down. But I do think he's a good pick, and probably not ahead of Kudus, but maybe ahead of the rest. Who else did I have? Adingra, probably quite close with Adingra, given the fixture. But I'd say Kudus, Adingra, Zaniolo. I'd have him ahead of Jordan Ayew, and long term I think Joe Willock could be a serious option. But short term he's probably ahead of him as well, to be honest. Right. I am going to call it a day there. My voice is just about clinging on. So thank you all for joining me. As I said earlier, as I've been saying all evening, check out the stuff down below. Patreon, Fantasy Football Hub, Draft FC. Yeah, you might as well check it out. You might as well just do it. Like the video if you haven't done so yet already. That would be very kind. And remember to put your waivers in, because I the waiver is tomorrow. This is the waiver wire Game Week 12 video. So if you rewind back to the start, the first 25 minutes, or less than that, 20 minutes, I did the waiver picks. So you can rewind and watch that for your entertainment. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to end the stream there, and I will, if you want to, support the channel, then feel free, and we will see you next time. Thank you all.